All right, guys, good morning. Let's do this thing. Thursday, here we go. Okay. Okay. Morning, Hair. How you doing? Just opening up my dashboard here. Yeah, I'm doing all right. Thursday morning. Let's see how we do. Um, so this is yet another strategy. So you guys can see that these strategies are adding up. There's 5 of them that I'm actively tracking now. This one here is tracking the top potential stocks on tip ranks. So the ones that seem to have the highest potential growth, most of these are 200, 300% growth across multiple analysts. So That's not right. All right, let's do this. What are you looking at this morning, Hare? Just opening up my options portfolio to see how that one's doing. Interesting. I need MFA to do well, but otherwise, these waiter calls are up $350. That's not bad. Now with this, do I want gains day over day or gains over? No, I guess I want total from the start. So this new strategy, guys, is the top 10 potential growth from tip ranks. What I'm doing is just holding it for a month and seeing what kind of a gains you get on something as simple as that. Or sushi. Missed hard on earnings. That's big if the company can effectively manage its liquidity. If you could fill it at 850, that'd be fantastic. Okay, let's see what's going on out there. Markets are green. Unilever beats. Roche beats. Epson is going to be the next Gigafactory site. Okay. So the Republicans are going to floor their bill. Okay, so there is something here for the earnings. Two of them, Umpqua and Bright Cove. Amazon's moving into car insurance. Holy cow. This is huge. That's a big deal. Okay, so these are the movers today. Early. Yeah, they really are looking like that. That's a big deal for them to move into that space because it sets them up to compete nicely against PayPal. If they can provide more than just essentially they're becoming a bank. If they've already got Amazon Pay, you can do debit. I imagine they've got an agreement on credit with Visa or MasterCard already, so you've got a credit agreement there. Loans and financing and insurance would be the next thing. It's pretty crazy. All right, early morning movers are locked in. I don't know. He called her disgusting? Say it ain't so. Yeah, it's definitely interesting. It will be a line drawn in the sand because I think Google's making similar moves for sure. Okay, so AOC side is that AOC saying he called her a bitch. She's saying, yeah, he's saying he never said anything of the kind. He walked away and said bullshit to himself. Oh, now somebody else joined in with him. This lady, I'm AOC, man. AOC. All right, what else we got going on? Moleculin's got a bunch of news here. Some FDA approvals here. going through all the tickers here, guys. All of my my scanners to see what's going on. Okay, so those are the upgrades for today. This is a big deal today. Okay, where do we get started here? MBRX, second lab test found antiviral activity for potential treatment. IPIX grants licensing rights to Fox Chase Chemical Diversity Center for antifungal technology. Company to receive 6% fee tied to all potential future proceeds. I mean, that's good news for IPIX. They don't have to develop that pipeline and they still receive 6% of the sales. Like, okay, that's a good deal. FDA approval for Ernenthal. Stock. Endo aesthetics. Endo international stock. ENDP. Yeah, it's up a little bit pre-market, but that's a big deal. It says it won't actually start sales until next spring, but that's big. FDA approval on that. There's ENDP there. Here's the ENDP again. So this guy's a 5-star analyst, which means that he doesn't get it wrong. Let's go to tip ranks. I want to see what else this guy is tracking. ACRX. Ed. Arena, Arcturus. So this guy does biopharma. Alba. Wow, this guy has a lot of ratings too. Average return is 1%. 42% success rate with an average of 1% return. Got an average return of 8%, 62%. I'm on my way to 5 stars, folks. I'm on my way to 5 stars. If this guy is a 5-star, 4.75 with an average return of 1, I mean, let's go back a year. So 38% with a 9% return. Top 25 analysts. Let's see what the top guys got. So this is what we're talking about. 74% success rate. Tech. These guys are all tech. Healthcare. So 75 is number 1. Number 2 is 51. I will follow that lady. See what he's got. MBRX, BNGO, APDN, BIOC. Yeah, there's some stuff here. I see Gene. That's an easy one. Jason McCarthy. Maxim Group. So this guy's wicked smart. He's a physician that's transitioned over to stocks using his medical knowledge. And then Jessica. What was her name? Jessica? Catherine. Let's see here. Research assistant, Duke University Bachelor of Science in Biomedical Medical Engineering. She comes with some education, not nearly as much as the PhD. Clinical engineering specialists. Trained surgeons on creating surgical plans for liver resections, liver ablations. Done okay. Associate clinical specialist. Medtronic navigation for brain, spine, and ENT surgery. Then she was at Baird as an equity research analyst, associate, senior research analyst, director. That's impressive. Very impressive. Yeah, I'll definitely follow those two. See what else we got going on here. Miragen granted FDA orphan drug designation for Cobomarsin, Mgen. I wonder what happens if I go over here and I go here. I'm gonna try to fill one of these out and see if it pops up on tip ranks as a rating. Hmm. Three things to consider when getting into MFA. CLO, which is similar to the CDOs that we were looking at before in the mortgages. See, this is interesting because he's making this statement saying, okay, well, obviously now you're not going to go invest in these. That didn't do anything to deter me. All this tells me is that they don't own, and if you didn't know this ahead of time, then you shouldn't have been in it. But if you didn't know that they didn't physically own the property, that they own mortgages on the properties, I don't know why you're trading it. Again, this is just simple do your own due diligence. So GFF gets an upgrade that can go in here. Mattel. Flowers. Clovis. Clovis was 2 days ago. One was 644. Close was 621. High was 631. This is the highest 649. Audio codes on 21st. AUDC. '21st. Open was 39.23. Close was 43.01. High was 43.66. It's not right. This one. 39.23. High was 39.45. Close was 39.01. This is backwards. Close. $39.45. All right. I mean, this was working out pretty well on the high, and it looks like essentially you would just get out almost immediately on the position. So this is a big deal. DMPI is voting on their acquisition of Adgero today. That's today at 4:30. Oxygen to present at World Orphan Drug Congress, August 24th through the 27th. How the hell do you spell that? Sufentanil. Fentanyl. Okay. Where am I going to find that news? I guess it could be in their SEC filings. Right, let's head back over here with this. All right, let's see what that does. Let's see if that pulls up anything on. Let's see if that pulls up anything on. All right, I'm wondering if that will show up in tip ranks. Yeah, hello. Yeah, that's one of the problems that I've had with it is I can't tie my account directly to them, and so it definitely leaves me My gains don't look as big. I'm not in Caesar, but I can definitely take a look. I don't know, are they? I have no idea how to set that up. All right, let's see if we can figure that out. Better TTV notes. Okay. Okay. So I have to go here. This. And then I have to go back over here, right? Okay. And then I head down here. Better TTV settings on. Okay. I do, but I use them all. So Grammarly, that's to make sure that I can quickly correct my spelling of things. TubeBuddy is for my YouTube channel. LinkedIn is to take me directly to LinkedIn as I get notifications. This allows me to switch a web page to a PDF, which is super useful for my work. Buffer is one of the social media tools that I use for my marketing consultancy. Giving Assistant is a cashback extension that allows me, when I shop online, to get instant cashback on purchases. Zoom scheduler, so this reminds me when I've got a Zoom meeting with clients throughout the day. Agora Pulse is another social media tool that I use for my digital marketing consultancy. Ad Blocker Plus. Feeder, this is the one that I use to get all of my news feeds off of the web. This is Instagram for desktop. So this actually pulls up Instagram that I can post to directly from my desktop instead of needing to be mobile. Rocket Reach is kind of a cool tool where if you don't know how to connect to somebody, you can use Rocket Reach and just click it automatically. It'll help you get there. Um, Unpaywall is a tool that I haven't really used this one. I could probably get rid of that one. But yeah, and then there's a bunch here that are this one I can get rid of. But yeah, I use them all. They're all there for quick use. I know a lot of people are like, "Holy cow, that's a lot of stuff going on." That's cool. I didn't notice that before. This picks up whatever music I'm playing. Well, I mean, if you guys want it, I'm happy to have it there. It doesn't really affect me one way or the other. So you should be able to do it now, right? Does that work? Okay, so if I type it in here, does it show up? Yeah, it does show up. Okay, sweet. There they are. All right, so that's my article on ACRX done. I can hop back in here. We're gonna look at Caesars. Okay, so Caesars deal closes to be the largest U.S. casino operator. Now, guys, what I want you to note with this, and this is kind of a big deal. So Caesars and Eldorado did come together. Okay, so they are now the largest casino and entertainment company in the U.S. 55 casinos. People consider this a huge thing. Like this is a big deal. This is a good thing. I would caution you greatly. What happens in September when you now have 55 casinos that are closed due to COVID? There is a reality. Second wave is going to come. What we are going to see is a a rise in cases headed into flu season in the U.S. So you'll see a rise in cases not only for COVID, you'll see a rise in flu, you'll see a rise in CABP, which is the community acquired bacterial pneumonia. You're going to see secondary infections take off through the roof. You're going to see hospitals hit harder than ever, and you are going to see some form of lockdown. Now, is it going to be a complete lockdown like we saw before? No, I think there's probably going to be some measures put in place that's in a complete lockdown. But places like this, sports stadiums, casinos, hotels, it's going to be very, very difficult for them to operate. I think that this is a, in my opinion, and I'm not offering financial advice here, but this is my opinion on this, is that this is a hard put into Q4. I really do. So where are they now? Caesars is up from. I remember looking at Caesars when it was down at the $7 mark. Now it's up to 40. Okay, so guys, this fall from 70 to 40. Where do we go from here is kind of the big question on this. Uh, this this area down here of this $15, that's kind of where I see this going. Um, So what they'll do, Huntress, is Caesar won't be the ticker; it'll be Caesar Entertainment. And what they're going to do is you're going to get whatever holding you had in Caesar. They're going to give you that in the new ticker's stock, and then you'll be able to sell that. Um, it's just it'll probably happen on open today. So this is a waiter evaluation here. Say it's overvalued at the moment. I completely disagree with that analysis. Who's your broker, Silver? Please don't say Robin Hood. Okay, so what I would do is call your brokerage. Call them directly and say, I have holdings in CZR. I'm not currently able to buy or sell these holdings. I'd like an update as to why, or I'd like an update as to when I will be able to. I would call them directly if you're not able to do it. Yeah, I'm not familiar with Voodoo, but I would call them directly. So this is yesterday this article came out, guys. Oh, that's not a good sign. Might be time for a new brokerage. The only thing I can think of is it's trading under a new ticker now, and as a result, um, your brokerage needs to change your funds over or change your holdings over to that new ticker. That would be the only thing that I could see. Um, yeah, yeah, I could see that. Can you not use IB? Can you not use Interactive Brokers? Okay, so IV painkillers pinched an opioid crackdown. Premier wants DA to change opioid quota policy. Request comes to opioid deaths are trending up. Ah, yeah, that's a bit of a problem. What about IB Light? IBKR Light, does it still have that 21 restriction? Intravenous painkillers are running short during pandemic, in part because of the drug enforcement opioid production restrictions. One of the biggest hospital policy groups in the U.S. said the DA has slashed the amount of opioid producers can manufacture over the last couple of years as part of the federal government's response to an opioid epidemic. So this is the scale that we're constantly balancing with opioids, right? On one side, it's opioid abuse, right? So people are stealing opioids from hospitals and pharmacies, and that's causing problems. And so the government goes, oh, we got people dying from opioids. The scale's going to tip. On this side, it's people needing opioids to treat in the medical industry, right? And so the scale's tipping down here of, oh, opioid deaths are becoming a bigger and bigger and bigger problem. Okay, so we need to create a new law. Let's create a new law saying that opioid producers can only produce so many opioids, and that way there's not as many out there. Oh, that'll help balance it. Oh, wait, we overbalance it because now we've got an epidemic and everybody needs opioids and we don't have enough opioids being produced, and now we're here. And so the question is, do they revoke some of those rules, repeal some of those rules, or are there existing solutions that aren't currently being used in order to bring this back in line? And the reality is ACRX is this. Hospitals are going, well, we want to use IV painkillers, and they're saying, you already have opioids readily available to you that you're not using, so use them. But that is a big boost for ACRX. Yeah, I mean, I think that's an element of it. I think what they need to do is, and this is one of the things that makes it well positioned. I think that the DEA needs to come to terms with there has to be two tiers of opioids. There's prescribable opioids and opioids that are only used in surgical settings. So Dasuvia is one of the latter, but you can make IV morphine, IV fentanyl, another part of that set, and essentially have it there so that what you've got is a subclass of opioids that are only available inside hospitals, surgical settings, so dentist office, plastic surgery, military offices, military hospitals, only available there. So Dasuvia, IV fentanyl, IV morphine, and you make it just there, and that way you people can increase their production of those uh, non-prescribable opioids, and that would fix their problem. Now that would take them having some actual inclination to do that. Um, but here's the other issue is that we're seeing a rise in overdose deaths, right? So they're going, well, we don't want to make more opioids because people are dying everywhere from these things. It's like, well, what you need to do is put greater restrictions on who has access to them in the hospital and the systems that need to be in place in order to use the tool. Um, so this is what they're talking about. They're talking about opioid prescription. You can't prescribe Dasuvia. You can't get a prescription. You can't go into the hospital, be treated, and then sign off on it and say, okay, well, um, when you go home, make sure you take your Dasuvia. That's not how it works. Only physicians can administer Dasuvia uh, inside a surgical setting. So when you go home, you would take another painkiller. You would not take Dasuvia. I'm in waiter with options, not with equity. I'm holding waiter until their earnings, which I don't know if they've announced a firm date on their earnings yet. They're still estimating early August. What's interesting here is the consensus has shifted from past several quarters being negative to now a positive consensus on it. And that's kind of a big deal, but I think that they still beat this consensus. Okay, so this was from June 29th. So, what this article is saying is it's not just morning Euro. What you've got is the U.S. is seeing a shortage, but the U.S. is just experiencing something that people around the world experience every day. It's kind of where they're starting out on this article that third world countries experience this kind of shortage all the time. Um, the WHO labels 12 medicines as essential medicines that should be available to anyone in need. Even in normal times, over 75% of the world has little or no access to them. Um, what they're hoping is that these bottlenecks in production is going to help them realize that the world needs them to produce more. Um, so this is saying that the narrative in the 70s, 80s, 90s that opioids are bad, that politicians used to rattle the saber against, needs to change. Um, the people that need it for pain control, surgery, terminal cancer patients, those people need to come into priority. So what's interesting is the Global Commission on Drug Policy currently is looking at this from a crime control and law enforcement model rather than a public health model, and I agree that's a problem. Instead of medical institutions looking at this from a medical perspective, the law enforcement side has too heavy a hand on it, and that's forcing the medical institutions to look at this from a legality side, and that's not their damn job. Their job is to worry about, are the patients in the hospital receiving the treatment they're supposed to be. This is saying that drug abuse is worse than it's ever been. No, I'm not gonna sign up for that. Okay, upstate New York is building titrable order sets to allow use of sufentanil, remifentanil, and hydromorphone for continuous infusion, setting of sedation, and mechanically ventilated patient in the event they have an inadequate supply of IV. So they're getting ready already. This is, when was this written? I don't see a date on it. Yeah, so it's still going up, and one of the realities is that, okay, so this is from June 24th. Okay, so June 24th. Where was it? So they recognize that Dasuvia is an option, but it's not currently being used. Upstate New York, sufentanil, which is Dasuvia. Other that oral opioid shortages may be on the horizon as they increase usage of these therapies in an effort to conserve IV for critical care. This is interesting. So this mayor, no, it hasn't gone through yet. So that their military spending on ACRX comes in when the military budgets get filed. So that could be any time from now until November. But when those budgets come in, we'll have an understanding of what the military spending is supposed to be. But what I'm suspecting we're going to see actually on this earnings is we're going to see that the number of ORs and ERs that ACRX is that Subi has become available in has had a significant uptick, and that should start to move the stock up. And then headed into Q3, Q4, we're going to see that get even worse because we've got a rising. I think we still have a rising number of. I think we still have rising numbers of cases in the U.S. Yesterday, 72,000 new cases. Over 2 million active cases. So all of those people that are on intubation are going to require opioids. When you've got 2 million people requiring opioids all day, call that 4 doses a day minimum. So we're actually looking at 8 million doses of opioids that just isn't there. It's not available. Um, FDA shortage. Put opioid in here. What comes up? Nothing. Okay. Um, okay, so let's go down this and see what, um, show all entries. Um, dexamethasone shortage, dopamine shortage, fentanyl shortage, ketamine, which is what they were using as an alternative, shortage. I'm not sure what the likelihood is in the States. I think Canada is looking to move forward with it. The States is a bigger beast. I think it's going to happen state by state, but places like California, I think it's going to be really difficult. I think it's going to be really difficult for them to reopen schools. But it's also difficult for them to keep them closed because you got to have parents home for that. It means you've got people not working. Methadone shortage, morphine shortage, oxytocin shortage, remfentanil resolved. So there's one that's been resolved that's not currently in shortage, but there's a good likelihood that this will come back. You know what's not on this list? Sufentanil. Anywhere. So I mean, most of the major painkillers. So remfentanil is the only one on here. Remifentanil. That would be the only one, and this is one that is a powder solution that you can make into a liquid. So it requires prep, but you can make it into a liquid for injection, which means that you can make it an IV. But ultimately, guys, this can't continue. This has been 8 weeks of shortages across all of these pain medications. And it's only a matter of time when you've got 2 million people. This is just for coronavirus, right? This is 2 million active cases. So that's 8 million doses a day of painkillers that are needed for these people that we're already in shortage on. That doesn't include people that have injuries outside of COVID. So we're talking people that have uh, car accidents, gun crimes, cancer, HIV, anybody that requires constant chronic pains. Yeah, anything with chronic pain. These medications are not readily available for them. And so when people are wondering why there's drug abuse happening and there's a rise in drug abuse, they can't get the medication legally, and that's at the fault of the DEA. So the DEA's restriction on opioids is actually causing the abuse of drugs. It's counterproductive, but they would never admit that. They would never admit that. Um, I don't know about how easy it is to get prescribed opioid, but what I'm getting at is even if you had a prescription for the opioid, you would go to the pharmacy and say, okay, I want my prescription on OxyContin filled. They would go, we don't have any. So what are you going to do? Okay, well, I've got a prescription for OxyContin. Do I go back to my doctor, which is hard to do right now, and ask for another script for something else? In which case, you need a whole different dosage. It's going to be awful for you to move from one medication to the other. But even if you were able to do that, you go back with the new one and say, okay, well, okay, just give me some. I can't have OxyContin, so give me, give me any of the other drugs. Give me a fentanyl subscription. Here we go, fentanyl. Fentanyl prescription, here it is. Oh, sorry, we don't have any of that either. What do you have? Well, we don't really have anything. Oh, okay, no problem then. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go out on the street and we're gonna find something laced with fentanyl, or we're gonna find street level morphine, and that's what we're gonna take. Or we're gonna take meth. We're gonna take anything that numbs this pain and kills it. Um, just because you have a prescription doesn't mean that you can get it filled, and that's the bigger problem I think right now. I need to grab some water here, guys. So 60 seconds. I'll be right back. Okay. All right. Let's see what's going on in the news here, guys. Morgan Stanley's taken strikes against China. That's kind of a big deal. Deaths are rising in the US on coronavirus. A UK digital services tax would derail trade talks. This means that they'll pull that back. UK can't afford to fight China, the EU, and the US all at once. Hong Kong's looking to escape to the UK. Scotland's looking for a new independence vote. Tesla beats, Microsoft beats. People are naive if they don't think that we're already in the midst of a Cold War. We have been and continue to be. US investors are looking to buy TikTok to keep it alive. I mean, this is nutty, and people keep putting the blame on Trump and the administration for this. But the reality is, guys, so just yesterday, total tests is up to 50 million. 50 million tests. Okay, so across the world, with the exception of China, that's done a fantastic job with 90 million tests and are completely not forging those numbers at all, along with their only 83,000 cases across 1.4 billion people, which is absolutely believable. You got the US with 4 million, 300 million population, 4 million cases, 50 million tests. 50 million tests. Even comparatively by population, guys, this 90,000 is a drop in the bucket. It doesn't even come close to these other countries. Tests per million. Just craziness. CEO's accused of fraud on Wirecard, as he should be. You don't misplace $1.9 billion. That's a cumulative effect of you're not making money and you were hoping to overcome these losses that you were tucking away, and you got boned. Slack files antitrust complaint against Microsoft. $2 billion in purchases. Mendoza wants to leave Argentina. All right, that's enough from Financial Times. What else we got? I love that kappa. Uh, the news of the consulate itself closing isn't nearly as bad as us waiting with our breaths held on what China's response will be. I suspect they will close a consulate in turn. The big question is, will it be Wuhan? Will it be Beijing? Or will it be Hong Kong? I think if they close Hong Kong, that's a huge statement. Removing a consulate from Hong Kong would be massive. Well, that's interesting. Rogue trader at Credit Suisse, huh? Okay, biggest victim of road trigger credit is suing one of the bank's trusts in Singapore for $300 million, opening a fresh front in the long-running dispute. Credit Suisse Trust failed to act in good faith and in the best interest of the beneficiaries, namely this man and his family, by neglecting to do proper due diligence on how their investments were managed. Singapore's top court paved the way for the lawsuit earlier this month when it ruled that the city-state had jurisdiction over the case. Credit Suisse has sought to limit court battles over Patrice Scoudron, the bank's former star wealth manager, to Geneva, where he was convicted in 2018. Scoudron was sentenced to prison for forging signatures and faking trades to cover mounting losses of clients, including. Yeah, exactly, Waffles. Yeah, they didn't know. Oh, we didn't know he was doing this. Oh, how could he ever? We had no idea. Absolutely no idea whatsoever. And no, no, yeah, no. He will stay quiet in his Geneva, Switzerland prison where he eats lobster and sips on wine. See, this is the problem when you screw over people that have even more money. So yeah, he lost 300 million, but dude's a billionaire. Guy's a billionaire. He can afford to take you to court. He can afford to stay in court, and he's going to have a great lawyer to do it, and he's going to get his $300 million back. And if he does, he's going to set precedent for everybody else to do the same damn thing. He's not even being greedy in that. Oh, weird. Is YouTube not delivering messages properly? Maybe that's why I haven't heard so much from the YouTube crew today. Johnny Walker is growing faster than beer. That makes sense. Stimulus plan is going to come out today alongside jobless guys. Weird. Um, Asia and Europe have two candidates in phase three. Um, North America and Asia have one each in phase two. Phase one, two has a bunch, and then phase one has a whole ton. I don't know how accurate this is because this is only taking into account the big players. It's not taking into account things like IPIX that are already headed towards phase two, right here. Anyway, I think we see a big old green day on the market today, guys. I think we're going to see jobless numbers coming down again, and I think we're going to see a nice package out of the Republicans. So we have Chinese elections next year's. I didn't realize that you had stepped back here. I guess that makes sense. We haven't heard much from you, but yeah, I mean, if we're heading into stimulus news again, I think that that's going to lead to green markets for a while here. Now the big thing, Yura, is we're gonna get a nice little pump here on possible stimulus, but the reality is if we don't have something in place for the unemployment checks by June 31st, you're going to see a massive drop in the market come August. Right. So Xi Jinping is preparing for re-election 2022, if you can call it re-election. But the 5-year gathering to pick the Communist Party's top leaders and set policy priorities is happening next year. Yeah, he may be shooting himself in the foot for sure. Well, they have elections of a kind. So the way that it works is that people don't get to vote. There's no voting at ballots, but public sentiment influences the leaders of the Communist Party, right? And when we say private citizens, the public, we're talking really the businesses and the money, right? The businesses and the money in China influence the political heads of the Communist Party and say this is what we want to have happen. Now, if it's in their best interest to have Xi stay as the head of the Communist Party, then fantastic. Otherwise, they can have another person put in as the head of the Communist Party, and he would be removed from that position. Um, Now, the big thing that it sounds good when China's rattling the saber and they're like, "Oh yeah, look, we're fighting India in the mountains, and we're fighting for Hong Kong, and we're fighting for and we're fighting and we're fighting." The other side of that is you're also alienating like crazy, left, right, and center, people all over the world. So right now, China is fighting Russia, the U.S., the U.K., India. So most of the major economies or emerging economies in the world, China is at odds with. And so what they're stating here in the article is that it may not be in the Communist Party's best interest or in private investment. 401ks no longer make much sense from Bloomberg. So the 401k is similar to an RRSP here in Canada. I have an I have an RDSP, which is it's another vehicle. It's a disability vehicle, but um, I don't think I would disagree. 401k makes sense so long as you're self managing your 401k. Um, the tax cut makes sense. Not paying taxes. Politics is politics, and so when a country claims that they're a communist country, um, there's not really a truly communist country out there because the idea of a communist country is for a small period of time you put a group in power over top to implement a system that benefits everybody equally in all positions, and then that power head gives up that power, they relinquishes it, and the people police themselves. No country has ever made that following step. So what you have is less of a communist country and more of a socialist dictatorship, which is what China and um, Argentina, Cuba, Russia is leaning more and more into that. While there's an election, it's not much of it. Xi will never step down. It really depends. So Xi is not the be all end all of power in China, right? The Communist Party as a whole is what gives him the power that he has. So the other leaders of the Communist Party remove Xi. I don't think we'll be seeing Xi again. But it's going to take a lot more than this. It's going to take a lot more than this. That's not what we're seeing here. What we're seeing here is that there are several people in several leaders in the Communist Party that aren't sure that his position is rock solid heading into the next meeting, but we'll see. I wouldn't say that he's coming out this time either. It would take a serious rift with the global economy in order for that to happen, but more bad news for Carnival Cruise Lines. Southwest is hurting. A double dip recession is forming. I don't know how they're playing sports in masks. I just don't know how they're doing it. Biden is more of a Republican than Trump. So we have a Republican running for the Democrats and Democrats running and a Democrat running for the Republicans? What? This is so scummy that you put Davos up here. Like that's her fault that they're doing that. The PPP and the CARES Act were put together by the House and the Senate. That had nothing to do with her. And those colleges that are doing that, they're for-profit colleges. Put up the face of the head of Harvard and have that be the face on this. What a crock of crap. Left-leaning bias nonsense. Oh, Huntress. Let me show you how to get around that. So when you go to Bloomberg, okay, so let's go back to Bloomberg, okay? You're going to the article, right? Okay, so here's the article. Oh, I've reached my limit. I can't read this article. I really want to though. Okay. So all I do is hit the refresh button. I tap the escape key as the page is loading. Voila. Super simple, easy peasy. Access without payment. The last thing to load on the page isn't the article, it's the yep. All the crazy hacks that you learn. Make sure that if you're already not subscribed or a partner or a I can't remember what it's called. I don't freaking care. Um, yeah, I teach you guys things. You learn things. You do things. This is the opioid treatment. This is Quo. I need that for today. I mean, that's it, guys. I'm not seeing a ton of. I guess we could go back here and check out this news here, but I don't know that anything else is going to pop up here that's significant. Quest Diagnostics beats. That's huge. DGX. Excuse me. Southwest Airlines beats on revenue? How? How in the world? Revenue is down 82% and they beat. I just uh unreal. Yeah, right? Like we just expect to not make any money whatsoever. like oh, this is and you know what? It's not so much their fault as it is earnings. 15 downward revisions. This is the problem. Analysts are being too freaking soft on these companies. Too soft. Why in the world would you give them 15 downwards revisions on estimates for revenue? Make them hold fast to year over year, or make them, 82% down and they beat? That means that we had a projected consensus of 80% loss? That's nuts. Absolutely nutty. That crap better not be going up pre-market. It is. It's up pre-market. Oh my goodness. So guys, suffice it to say, stonks only go up. But airlines, cruise lines, casinos, for me, are solid puts into Q4. Shorts, puts. Don't bet for them. This Clarissa TS is a hard bear against ACRX. Hard bear. Calls on space are probably going to look decent. So she pops in and say, ACRX has a monopoly in the US, a monopoly over a product that has no demand. I also have a monopoly that no one cares about. My monopoly is putting wigs on cats so they can pretend that they are beautiful ladies. I said, I'm not sure that the Department of Defense has cat wigs on the budget this fall. Power to you if it does, though. DoD has as much need for dysuvia as it has needs for wigs on cats. So Q4 is going to be my I told you so. It's a nutty world out there. We are live. Yep. I am about to log off, though. I'm about to call it. No, I done broke stock twits again. No, I'm around pretty much all day, Mr. Waffles. I'm a digital marketing consultant, so anything that I do for my day job, I can do from home. I also speak publicly at global conferences. So the next one that I'm speaking at, I think, is the South Africa Innovation Summit. That I'm, again, because of COVID and restrictions on travel, I'll be doing that from home. So I essentially can do everything from home. I maintain the market. So for those of you that haven't seen the setup, here's the setup. So I've got my computer here that I normally do. I've got another one over here. I've got a monitor up there. And so those that setup allows me to have my social media going at the same time as my business over here. So that's where I often will put my dashboard. So that's often where I have my tickers. So anything that I'm watching during the day is up there like that. So I can just quickly look up and see my tickers and my positions. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is 7 o'clock in the morning. I am done for today. Thank you so much for everybody that showed up, followed, subscribed, did all that great jazz. As always, guys, 4:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time till 7. I'm on here busting this out. So hopefully this is of value to you. If you know anybody else that would want to watch this, please feel free to swing by and say hello. Would love to have more and more folks, whether it's YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, you name it, LinkedIn. I'm just happy to hang out with you guys and hopefully teach you guys how to do some decent due diligence. Trifecta, it's good to see you, buddy. It's good to see you. All right, that's it for me, though, guys. Have an amazing day. There will be a rerun following on this for the full breakdown on everything that we looked at today. Have an amazing day. Stay safe out in the markets, guys. I will catch you later.